Are you allowed to
with.
touch them, like stroke them and stuff? Or is it more like a stripper place that only looking, no touching?
It's extra for touching.
No touching, extra price.
Well,
if you want a one-to-one lap dance from a cat.
Don't be a doorstop. Don't be a doorstop. Don't be a doorstop.
And welcome to another episode of Don't Be a Doorstop. We have been incredibly busy. I've been gigging. So I've come out of my 6 or 7 year retirement to start playing drums for Kimma Otang. She is my wife to begin with, and also a music artist. So we had our first gig on Wednesday and it went incredibly well. I will drop in, thanks Tom for reminding me, I will drop in a video of me at the gig now. So you may or may not be able to hear me. Homecoming night, out of retirement gig. So I've not done for the last 7 years, collectively. That's James, our sound guy. And this is the first gig for Kimma, one of them. And hopefully from that video, you saw a little bit of what it's like to be a drummer for Kimma. And it went swimmingly well, which I'm pleased to announce. No technical hitches, no musical glitches, which is good. And then the next one is Friday, playing in Exeter, and then next Thursday, playing in Wrexham. So if you're in Exeter or Wrexham, come watch us play.
Exciting. Where did you play your first gig? Where was that based?
It was in a pub in Shoreditch, and the venue was pretty good, to be honest. Like, pub venues are always hit and miss with sound stuff, but it was a good venue, good atmosphere to it. It's in like a top floor of this pub. So the pub is at the bottom floor, then you have to walk all the way through, and then the second floor is where the gigs are, and then the third floor, which is like the roof, or like the highest floor even, is like the green room, but there's also a pub there. So I wonder on like Saturdays or something whether or not they have the whole 3 tiers of it like full. But yeah, it's a cool little pub in Shoreditch.
Fascinating.
Can't remember the name of it annoyingly, so
your tour dates on the screen each week.
Yeah,
then,
as they like
sold out or
like credits,
been and gone or whatever.
It reminds me of, like, you know, when you do something new, you want to do something like, you know how somebody takes a photo of themselves every day and then you collate it into this thing, and then this video plays through like 30 years of the photos. I was like, what I should have done, and I thought about this, but then I didn't execute on it, was like, you know, when you like take a video of yourself looking back, and behind me is the crowd, and I'd be like, gig number 1, and it'd be like a second video, and then keep on doing that. So basically, as the gigs go, then it would be like the stages are changing, they're getting bigger, so like crowds are changing.
Like a tripod behind you looking at the stage in front of you, you're saying?
Yeah, and I would look towards the camera, exactly like this setup here. You would see basically the crowd in the background, me on my drum kit, so my drum kit here, and I'd be like, gig number 1. And then it's like, then you basically would just have that snipped to then gig 1000, essentially, because that's what it is. It's all about.
I was thinking if we should have a drumming vlog of you with. I've seen these little cameras that you could basically they're slightly magnetic that you can pin to your top and have basically the magnet behind your top. And I was wondering to have that of just seeing you drum as a what would it be, like a first person drummer type of thing,
like a GoPro type thing.
Yeah, for them to feel like they're part of the drumming experience.
Yeah,
I would bring that to future.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to see that, because I guess what's cool to me might not be cool to others, but then what's cool to others might not be cool to me. So I'm like, oh well, there's nothing special, but it might be special for somebody else that's never been in that situation and see what it's like, and what do I see and all, and what am I looking at and what's going on. I guess if I had a GoPro on my head, you'd be able to see exactly what I'm also looking at, rather than just on my chest that's moving around like as I'm drumming. But that'll be one for a future iteration, for sure, for definite.
Yeah, that'll be cool. But yeah, hopefully I'll be videography for the Wrexham one. We'll see. Watch this space.
I need to ask if I can get freebies, freebie tickets for a couple of people to come in, including yourself. So,
and if not, sponsor me to go.
Yeah, sponsor you to be, or sneak you in one of those roller cases with all my drum stuff,
like Taylor Swift or whatever.
The other end. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my notes because I wanted to specifically discuss something funny.
That's
well,
fine.
not.
I realised
it is
that
funny
we've not
rizzles,
actually done the thing that I wanted to do to kick us off, but we've just roll the camera.
We've just ridden
press,
straight in. We've just like charged.
Jumped straight into it.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask you to try out the teleprompter on Riverside to see what that would be like.
Oh yeah, I've not had the chance to play with any of this new stuff. Haven't they got some like green screen thing as well? Was that what you were going to do?
There is that, but that doesn't work with my laptop without it crashing.
Oh, that's a shame.
So I wonder if it's too powerful.
Malfunctioning and
so
melting.
it works with the iPad, but not with a laptop, which I tend to use the laptop and the camera, and it literally just pauses, and then I turn it off, and then it'll like run through everything that I was doing earlier. So yours might be a little bit more powerful as you've got the M1 chip, but I don't yet. So
yeah, I have the M1 Pro actually. Yeah.
So it might be. I'm assuming it's that because internet speeds are quite good where I am. So who knows? Watch this.
Yeah,
space.
I'll have to give it a go. But the one thing that I wanted to discuss...
This isn't a green screen. This is a real window.
Yeah, this is real outside. Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about is I've started to spot a trend around animal-based businesses. So you may be familiar with cat cafes. It's a new trend craze that's probably been going for a while, but I've only just gotten into it because both sides, our sister and brother-in-law have cats. So I've spotted them more, and they're more like in our family chats, right? There's a place in London, basically you can rent, or like not rent, but like pay to be with a cat or pay to be with a kitten for an amount of time. So for 55 minutes with a cat, it's $19.99. And for 55 minutes with a kitten, it's $24.99. And then they have 1 hour 24, 1 hour 25, £28, £35. And then 1 hour 55, which is basically 2 hours with a cat, 40 quid. And then kitten, 46 quid or 47 quid, rounding up roughly. I'll ping the thing. So that's per person. So I'm like, that is just to spend cat. Yeah, just to spend time with a cat. Now, obviously, this is London prices, so they're going to be more expensive. But you're also going to be buying cake and drinks and whatever. So I was like, what other cat or animal business ideas
are you allowed to touch them, like stroke them and stuff? Or is it more like a stripper place that only looking, no touching?
It's extra for touching.
No touching. Extra price. Well, if you want a one-to-one lap dance from a cat.
That can be business number one. So in the comments, once we've like riffed off these business ideas, I want you to like tell us which is the funniest idea or which is the best idea. Maybe funniest and best is like it's two separate things. But like the best idea that we've come up with, you can decide whether or not it's best because it's funny or whatever. Yeah. So first idea, stripper cats, which is essentially
for extra.
That would make more sense, right? You would have some sort of like what it would be. You know, in like what do they call it when they have those little meals that come round on like a conveyor belt? It's like a Japanese style thing, like a sushi restaurant, right? Comes around on a conveyor belt. So what that allows is multiple people to sit at different points, right? So what happens if you have not a conveyor belt as such, but like a tube where cats basically will come down the tube, and then you can have different tables along the tube, and then you just play music. And if you want the cat to basically like come out onto the table or whatever, you have to pay extra, pray or pay extra for the cat to like stop at your point to come out onto the table so you can stroke it or whatever. Then it has to go back into the conveyor belt or whatever, and they had dancing music. So it's kind of like, yeah. So what would be the name of the restaurant, or either a restaurant or a cafe? Cat strips? No,
cat strips. Don't know.
Cat strippers? No. Yeah. What did you say before? Cat strippers? Was that it?
Yeah. Stripper cats.
I was trying to think of something fun. Yeah, stripper cats. That's stripper cats. Because that sounds like, are you going to stripper cats rather than are you going to cat strippers? Yeah, stripper cats sounds a bit more like flowy, right?
Option one, stripper cats.
What I also thought, if somebody wants to start these businesses, we will give you a logo for free or a website for free, because we want to be in
we'll take your commission for free.
Yeah, and therefore we'll take 10% of all bookings. So stripper cats is idea number one. What I thought would be even better than stripper cats, because unfortunately you'd have to be there in person, right? Let's take this into the internet, ether world, into the website, into the realm of like Video streaming, yeah. And I think what would be cool is you have a room where there is a cat, right? And we'll call it cat cams. That's a great name, cat cams. And it would be that you could release things by tipping. So, for example, you have a cat in a room and it's jumping about and stuff, and you can watch it. It reminds me because somebody in North Wales at some point, I can't remember if it was North Wales. I think it was Wales. They had like a goat cam where they were watching goats or watching like sheep or whatever, and people would tune in. I think it was somewhere in North Wales, and that was like weirdly like cool. So do that with a cat in a room, and if you could partner with catteries, then that'd be even better, right? So we're looking after a cat. It's in a room, and you could release like things and trigger things. So for example, you could like pay 20 quid and dance music and flashing lights come on, and the cat would be like like running around. So obviously we'd have to be careful not for it to be too crazy, but you could be like release a treat or release a toy, and that would be a way that the person watching would be able to tip for the cat to be like doing stuff or like having fun or like unlock a new room, and then it goes into another room, and then the camera switches to the other room or whatever. So I think that would be a great idea.
Make a lot of money. It's not very ethical, but I'll share it anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
Positive things and negative things, and you'd have them have a war. So imagine if like the floor becomes water, and then slowly built, like you can pay for more water to go into the floor because it doesn't have water. But then you got other people to pay to release the water, and then just see who wins. But yeah, that's the
you know what you could
ideas.
do. That's an absolute non-ethical idea. So we don't back this idea. But let's play it out just for idea's sake. We're not going to do this stuff. And if you did choose this idea, we wouldn't do the website for you. Yeah, every hour there is a battle for like red and green, and you basically have to pay money, and then whichever one beats in the like the tug of war of like bars of how many people have donated, that's what gets executed in the next hour or whatever. Or you could change it to be like
that's probably not the right word.
Definitely not. Yeah.
When the cat to play,
RSPCA going to shut us down. Yeah. So basically, it's going to be like whoever wins the dark or light. Or to be honest, it doesn't need to be dark or light. It could be just like two ideas. One is we're going to play dance music,
like Thingy Bob. What was it? Ready, Steady, Cook style.
Yeah, exactly. You're just voting on what you prefer to see. So then there is some sort of user engagement, and then you could pay like extra money to kind of like have your thing done or whatever, like above the two voters or whatever, right? To be like bypass the queue, as it were. That'd be a great thing. I was also thinking like, you know,
purchaser of the month is allowed to dress up as a cat and go into the room.
yeah. You could have people pay to be in the room or whatever as well, right? They could pay to be in there. But I think that'd be a great idea because it'd be super easy. You just have a cat in there. You'd have like a live stream, and then you would have people like paying money, and then you just have to have stuff. I wonder if there's some way of like, based on these triggers, that it would activate certain activities or certain gifts or certain things, or like a laser would turn on and then the cat would follow the laser around, whatever. The only trouble is that essentially you'd have to have it timed where like maybe you have two cats, one in a different time zone. So you could have 24-hour cats. Actually, that's another good name. 24-hour cats, where you'd have one cat that's like playing around and stuff, and then that cat would be allowed to sleep, and then you'd have the other cat in some other time zone.
Quite like watching Big Brother when they were sleeping. I don't know. Some people might like that. So maybe there's a button that you can flick in between just a 24-hour cat that does sleep, but then a 24-hour awake cat. So then it flicks in between the time zones.
Yeah, which would essentially be a different cat in another room, because obviously it'd be too hard to keep one cat awake and stimulated for so many hours. But I think you'd make
looking exactly the same, and then people don't.
Yeah, actually, you could duplicate the rooms, right? You could have exactly the same room, like Mr. Beast, it kind of like this is room A and room B, and they're exactly the same, and you'd have the same setup in both rooms. You're just switching like on the 12-hour mark, so then the cat doesn't get too tired. Yeah, you'd run like adverts for like Whiskers or whatever, like cat food.
It's basically like I was thinking
switch rooms.
I was thinking this is my business idea, but it's sort of the same thing, and it's like a live Tamagotchi. But I guess it sort of is, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the sense that you have to feed it and drink it or whatever. But I guess it's more of a community Tamagotchi rather than an individual one.
But this could be
like a factory if you wanted everyone to have an individual one.
But why not? If you think about it, I want to have a cat, but I don't. So I don't want to have a cat. But let's say
these aren't free range cats. Then if they have any eggs,
person A, yeah, like they basically are a cat that lives in a cattery, and you own that cat, and you can be with the cat at any point, but predominantly it's a cat Tamagotchi based cat, essentially, right? So you might be like traveling loads, but you want a cat and you want to be able to feed it stuff. And obviously it would naturally feed it because it's like it's basically cat subscription. There is a website somewhere where you can rent a dog. So this would essentially be rent a cat. So you would purchase maybe you'd purchase like a month of a cat where you could kind of like speak to it through a microphone and like feed it and stuff. And then you could also turn up and see it at certain like visiting hours or whatever. But yeah, obviously it'd be difficult. Essentially, you would want to make sure it's a free range cat and not be stuck in an indoor thing. But, and another thing I think is a good like animal based business is literally a cattery, because you could have two things. So one, you could literally do you obviously look after a bunch of cats and you feed them and they play around and whatever, and you have them in cages for when they sleep and all this stuff so they don't fight and all this stuff, right? So you just need a bunch of space. You could do it in a garage in a garden or whatever, right? Then if you owned a cattery, you could potentially live stream the cattery and the cats that are in the cattery, so long as somebody doesn't like come and rob the cattery, right, and steal the cats kind of vibe. But you could have like a secondary thing, and you probably have to ask permission of the people that give you cats to like allow them to be streamed, like permission for them to be streamed. So yeah, cattery. So far we've got cat cams, stripper cats, cat cattery. What other ideas? What other animal? We've zoned in on cats, but yeah.
I've seen like a house sitting, but I guess you can include animals with that. So if we're keeping on the theme of cat, so it's cat sitting. So instead of taking your cat to the cattery, you might actually want them to stay at home. So then actually you bring the person to the home, because actually it could be like a good holiday for someone that, let's say, a student that doesn't have that much money, or someone that can't afford to go on holiday but wants a bit of a break, but something a bit different. Someone without a cat might actually want to house sit a cat, or work from another home.
You know what's cool with that? So I chatted to some friends of ours.
Work with cats. Maybe that should be the phrase.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a like remote work cat sitting remote. No, that sounds bad.
Instead of we work, it'd be we cat. Throw loads of cats in there. Tearing up the place.
Yeah, you can tell we're good at making screaming cat noises.
Yeah, I feel like it's very Homer Simpson.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, or like or not the Simpsons, the Muppets as well. Kind of like similar kind of sounds. That kind of blends in with. So some friends of ours have had a baby. The baby's now 1 year old. They had an idea around like basically you need to have an app.
The 1 year old had an idea. That's impressive.
Yeah, a genius kid.
It's all about the structure of the sentence, guys.
For sure. Have an app to explain the routine of the child. Yeah. So, for example, like routine of the child, they get up at 7 a.m. They want this kind of food. They sleep at 6 a.m. or whatever. So whenever you kind of have somebody to like babysit, this is the routine. So like stick to this routine, right? Similar with cats. Why don't we have like a cat sitting app where it'd be like, hey, this cat can't be within 5 meters of this cat because it'll fight. Like it likes this kind of food. It likes this. And if it, goes to the toilet, it always wants you to clean it straight away. Like blah, blah, blah. All the nuances of like the cat character.
I wonder if it could be like an Apple Wallet card type of thing that you get more information. So then you can just hand it over to some, like airdrop it or something.
It's kind of like your contact card. Yeah. Or like your, I'm blood type A or whatever. Yeah. So we have the cat calling card, which would be a blend of like a cat app. Actually, the cat app could be separate. And then we have like Airbnb for cats, essentially. You go and stay over at people's places. You have this cat app, which helps you like understand how to look after the cat. And then you stay in other people's house or you work remotely from that place. I think another one with the sitting, walking is another thing. A colleague of mine has, also like a client, pays for her dog to be walked while she remote works. So the guy comes at like 9 a.m. in the morning, picks the dog up, and then for like 4 hours or whatever, has the dog for 4 hours, like walks it, whatever, and then comes out, or 3 hours or something. And they do it with multiple dogs. So I'm like, you could have like a dog walking, because cat walking is not really a thing, is it? So a dog walking business would be like simple way in. You just find people that would have dogs and be like, hey, I can walk the dog for you so you can like remote work, whatever. You just pick all these dogs up at a certain time. And you would do it like if you were retired and you had the time and you loved walking anyway, and you loved walking in your area, you just like pick up the dogs across a particular road and then walk them for a couple of hours and then bring them back, drop them all off, and it'd be like done, like 20 quid an hour or whatever for each dog. Like,
I guess if we're going over to dogs, walking them, they might get dirty. So then you go into grooming.
Yeah, I think.
And massaging or whatever.
when you think of if you think about COVID and the things that we've like spent money on, right? Or the baseline things, like we all need food, we all need energy, and we all need like transportation, right? Or like logistics. And then the other thing is like we all will spend money on our animals more than ourselves. So even though we humans need these things, like you'll also spend money on your pets. So if you have like a pet grooming place, and there's actually a place that opened up in Colwyn Bay, and I would love to think that the cash flow of those kind of places is like, it's a great brick and mortar business to do like dog grooming, because I assume that dogs typically need haircuts, right? And they probably need to be washed, and that whole experience, and they probably need to have their teeth cleaned and their nails, their like claws chopped every now and again. So you could have that service, right? And then you put some like nice smelly tag on them, right? Like one of those Christmas tree things, like once you've washed a car. So I think that would be a great business, but it'd be full on, because it'd be using lots of water essentially, and obviously electricity for the hair dryers.
But I saw someone in there's a place in sort of near Holywell direction called Abercan or whatever.
Abercan, yeah.
And they basically have in their car park, they've started to have basically containers, like shipping container businesses, and one of them is a dog grooming place, which I thought was quite clever, because normally dogs are smaller than humans, so it's easier to have like a mini bath and a hair dryer and this, that, and the other. So it's a quite sort of a garage size, if not slightly smaller. It's quite handy to have that. It's good to know that you can fit it in a small area, basically.
Yeah, I think with any of these things, you want to like come out with the one that's going to take the less effort. The dog grooming thing, lots of effort, because you'd have to create a place where it's like waterproof. You'd be able to dry them. You'd be able to like store animals until the owners come and pick them up. And also it's like barbers. Like the barbers is never booked out, right? There's always like downtimes.
You could be like have it on wheels, couldn't you? I guess
like in a back of a van. Yeah.
Yeah. Lock them in the van and drive off. But you bring in the, especially if someone has a small let's say you're working from home and you don't want to take your animal somewhere, you can get them to come to you. Sort of thinking about how you can have valets that come to then clean your car where you're at and then go. It's mimicking that same idea, that if you had, basically like a camper van, that you come, you clean the animal and then you drop it off and then you go. Or if they want a walk, then you can walk it around the block or whatever and add things to it as your business grows, I guess.
You either go to people or you be in a place where lots of people are for a prolonged time. For example, if you were in a shopping center, it would make a lot of sense, right? You go and do your shopping and you drop off your dog, and then the dog will be with us for like half an hour while you do your shopping, and then you come back and your dog will be like pristine clean with a nice smelly Christmas tree hung around its neck kind of thing. It'd be that like blended experiences, so it's not an inconvenience and it's like a part of the life or the kind of like the experiences that you already
I guess if you know that if there's a park that's quite known for dog walkers, you could set up in one corner, let's say per week or per month or whatever. And then after they've done their walk, they might be like, actually, it's a good day to clean because it got messy on the walk, and I'll treat
actually that would probably be even better if you did like if you did it a part of the like National Trust thing, right? You have this long forest walk, and you have a cafe with like a dog grooming thing. So you like come into the cafe, be like, cool, we're going to do this walk. So you do the walk, you get super muddy, and then you come to the cafe, you put the dog in the like cleaning place, clean up your dog for half an hour, you have a cup of tea, and then here you go, your dog's clean, you don't have to worry about it, you can now go on your way. So yeah, like blended experiences is probably like the best approach to get.
And then you sell the experience of cleaning a dog to someone that doesn't have a dog that wants to do it.
Yes. I was chatting to some guy outside of a pub once, and he was like, oh, he's from the States, he's visiting London, and randomly he said like, I asked him like, oh, if you could do anything, like if everything paid the same, what would you do? And he'd be like, oh, I'd love to be like a zookeeper or whatever, or like be with animals, or something like that, right? And I was like, did you know you can literally be a zookeeper for the day in the zoo in London? And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, you can. Like, I definitely have heard of that. You should see if it's still around. Definitely, you would be a dog groomer for the day, so you'd get people to pay to wash these dogs as the experience. Definitely. Like that would be such a clever thing. So then you actually just be the middleman, and you don't have to wash the dogs because you kind of like be a dog groomer for the day, and then the people are bringing the dogs because they're naturally going on walks. That'd be a great way to do it, I think. So, right, any other final ideas? I'm trying to think of like additional ones to like extra things.
I don't know. I think that's currently pretty much it. I'm sure something else will crop up.
And obviously the traditional cat cafe still works, but I wanted to come up with additional ones outside of that. I don't think I've ever mentioned my cat quiz though. So again, doing this like research of knowing that people spend money on their cats, I wanted to trial something. So one, there's an insight around quizzes. Regardless of the length of your quiz, as soon as somebody's done like the 3 first questions, there's like an 80-90% chance that they will complete it, regardless of how long the quiz is, because like after they've gone past that first hurdle, they're so invested that they'll go to the very end. So I wanted to trial that out. And I thought, like, I'm into like personality traits and stuff. We've spoken about it a lot on the podcast. And I was like, what if you could blend cat breeds with personalities? And it was around the time that like ChatGPT was kind of new. So I was like, hey, ChatGPT, can you create a cat quiz which blends personalities and cat breeds? So you fill out this like personality questionnaire and it'll tell you what cat breed you are. And then I was going to use Amazon referral links to buy like cat food and stuff. And then you could pay to like make yourself look like the cat breed that you just did. Now, I didn't get anybody pay to look like a cat. And I don't think I actually even got any links through. And I just did Facebook advertising, got loads of people on it, got loads of people finishing the quiz. So my insight of like people finish the quiz, they would spend 3 minutes on this like quiz to get the answer because they were interested. And I didn't do the whole like put your email in to get the answer. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I just wanted to see if they'd buy stuff, but they didn't buy stuff, which is a shame. But that audience on Facebook is super cheap because you essentially just target like, it was targeting loads of people in the kind of like 50s, 60s, 70s group, like was really, really cheap to target for like cat lovers. So I'm like, I've not quite got my, like the conversion of like turn yourself into a cat. But I think also that would be a good, it's kind of like a filter, right? You'd create like a paid filter to turn yourself into a cat, which I know those exist. So yeah, that's something else that I tried and it didn't quite work, but it's a great way to get traffic. That's for sure. Yeah. Cheap traffic.
There you go. Cats. What more do you want?
Yeah, in the comments, tell us which cat idea was the best and share your cat ideas of if you have something that's additional to ours. And until next time, I was trying to think of a cat thing. I couldn't think quick enough. Keep
clawing away? I don't know.
Keep clawing those paws.
Clawing those doors. And don't be a doorstop.
Yeah, keep clawing those doors. Yeah. Bye for now.